Well, yesterday I gave you some pretty damning evidence, but before I get into that, I'm showing these pictures in series part 2 regarding the moon and the existence of an entity at the moon. And why I'm saying that is because I'm referring to Ephesians 6:12. Well, I'm not going to read it up to you, but it is about that we are up against some forces that is not of this world. And there's a lot of people that say, well, all this crap don't exist. But you do believe in ghosts, right? You do believe in hauntings. You do believe that there are some ghosts out there in our realm, our 3D world, that is actually able to possess people, who is able to harm people in their living quarters or living spaces. You do believe in that, and you are following up on that. So why is it so important to you to denounce that God is real, that he had a group of angels, well, led by Lucifer, who was, in charge of worshipping, but he wanted to be worshipped and exalt himself higher than God, and that is exactly what he has put in his mind of men here on planet Earth. And that is this gigantic network. We know them as the Bilderberger Group, we know them as the Freemasons, we know them as Illuminati, we know them as the Knight of Malta, we know them as the Club of Rome, we know them as, well, the Royal British Family. And it all started back in the days of Babylon and the Tower of Babel, and it actually started all the way, even before that. It started with the days of Noah, where they were coming down, and they pretty much took over, and they pretty much destroyed everything that God has created for us to live in. Our living space was destroyed by these fallen angels or entities, or you New Agers, you call it Andromedans and Pleiadians and Draconians and whatever name you want to give them, and they're all the same club and they're all evil, but they present stuff to you and make themselves seem like the good guys, but they are not the good guys. And these leaders of this world have set themselves to go to war against God and everything that pertains to God, and that's why we, as an example, see this persecution of Christians, especially in the Middle Eastern countries, where they're just being slaughtered and no one is helping them. No one. And then there's some people who say, well, it's the Jews. The Jews, they're the ones who's running the world, and they are the evil ones. Yeah, the Jews have it wrong. And they have had it wrong for thousands of years, and that is why God put a curse on them. And that curse was that they should be scattered around on the planet. They would be trodden down, they would be persecuted, and they will never find a safe place. And they will tremble day and night in fear for their life, because no one will save them. And he also gave them another curse, that is that there should be no might in their hands to conduct anything. Well, there is a group like Henry Kissinger, Larry Silverstein from 9/11. I mean, they are Jewish. But it doesn't mean that the entire Jewish community is part of some sort of conspiracy. That rhymed, because that's the truth. But we are having a problem, and that problem pertains to that we have this existing lie of, well, it started out as global warming, right? And now it's called climate change. Well, I can assure you one thing, the climate is changing 4 times a year. It's called seasons. Okay? And even God in the beginning, in Genesis, and he said that the planets and the stars were for signs and for seasons. Oh, we're already there from the beginning. Have signs for seasons. What are those seasons? There will be spring, summer, autumn, and winter. That's climate change. It's not global warming. And let's stay with the global warming, because I got an article sent here to me today that is, well, I just want to say first that it is very nice to see that there is someone who is following up on this. Bradley Moore, one of our long-time subscribers, sent me a comment today that if I have seen Weather Wars 101's channel. No, I didn't even know he existed. And I also got from Ken an article about Hurricane Harvey, a geoengineered, let me see, superstorm target Texas, and why. Well, I'll come to that. But meanwhile, you are looking at some pictures of the surface of the moon, and someone is there. And then there's those Christians that is adamant to say, yeah, but God put two lights in the sky, that the sun and the moon are lights. Hey, listen to me, dear Christians. It might say in the Bible, lights, but he's not defining what type of light that is. What is it? He say light. Maybe it's because it is not for us to know and not for us to dabble with, because he got another plan for us. That we are focused on the sun and focused on the moon. There's another group of people that is focused on the sun and is focused on the moon. And who are they? They are the ones who's running this planet into the ground. The so-called elite. But they are not elite. They're lost souls who have set themselves to go to war against everything that God stands for, to create their own idea of a world of communism and fascism combined together. That's what it's all about, with a one ruler. And that ruler is called the Antichrist in the Bible. You can take it or leave it. I don't care what you think and what you don't think. It is honestly your problem. And you need to do some soul searching here on that issue. But if you come to all these changes that is up in the realm today, in the news and by scientists, this climate change, this global warming, and what's going on and what's not, all I need to do is turn you to Luke 21 and Matthew 24. There's your answer for what we're seeing now. That's your answer. The disciples is asking him, what would the signs be for the coming of the end of this world? The world as we know it today. And Yeshua is telling them exactly those signs. And those signs we are seeing today, and they're ramping up. And scientists know that. But they have put it into another bubble. And that bubble is started out as global warming. And that bubble has since renamed itself because global warming didn't fly. So now it's climate change. And what can we do about climate change? How can we prevent it? You can't prevent it. You dumbass idiots. Excuse my language, but you are dumbasses. And those of you out there on YouTube that believes in this, you're just as dumb as they are. You see, I have a major in biology, and I know something for a fact, and I've said this many times to you. And I'm going to say it again while you're listening, while you still have an interest. Because you might not have an interest in me when I'm done. But I don't really care. It's your problem. I'm here to tell you the truth and give you my perception of matters based on, of course, what's in the scriptures and, of course, from what I know, and put the dots together and create a picture of it. Now, listen carefully. CO2 has been blamed for the cause of global warming. Now, listen carefully, you deniers out there. Plants, trees, are inhaling CO2 and combined with the fruitful rays coming from the sun in the leaves is a process called photosynthesis. It is the little green cones that is in the leaves. That's what is also turning the leaves green. That's why they are so beautiful green. Green is one of my favorite colors. Orange is my second favorite color. I don't really think I got pink. That's disgusting. That's for little babies, girl babies. It's not for adults. That's my opinion. Well, that process in the leaves called photosynthesis through the green cones in the leaves. They're sucking in their small, tiny little lips on the back side, meaning that side that doesn't point up towards the sky. That is sucking in, and they actually look like little mouse if you take them under a microscope. And they're sucking in this CO2, and it's going through. Plus, they're sucking up water, right? And that process, photosynthesis, make the tree excrete oxygen for us to breathe, meaning all mammals and humans breathing. And another thing is, if they want to totally combat our CO2 content in our atmosphere, then they will have to sort to something, I wouldn't even know what word that would be. Can we call it fishercide? Meaning killing all living species in the oceans. Because the oceans, which is 71% of the surface of this planet, and I'm not going to go into discussing whether the planet is a globe or it's flat. I was at one point in time for the flat thing, but I'm not anymore. Honestly, I don't know the truth. And honestly, you damn not either know the truth. You will know the truth when you die. For now, it is an enigma. What is this planet? But for now, it's round. In my world, it's a ball with planets surrounding it, and the sun, and the asteroids, and all that stuff. Stars, blah, 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 blah. But the biggest culprit, if we want to call it a culprit, is the excretion of CO2 from the oceans, of decaying dead plant material. It is not from human activity. It is from the oceans. And this is driving this ecosystem as symbiotic as it's supposed to be, and is perfected by God to be like that. There are animals that remove the dead. There's insects that remove the dead. There's bacteria that breaks down the very last items of what is dead. It is all one giant cycle, and it all fits perfectly together. But again, this group has set themselves to disrupt this balance that there is. Oh, you will say, well, then they are the ones who is creating these hurricanes and storms. No, these storms are natural phenomena. The cyclones, the typhoons, the hurricanes, and tornadoes are naturally storms that, because of certain properties in the atmosphere between hot and cold and moisture, that is creating these storms. But now we are this many people on the planet which they seek to destroy. I mean, they want us down to 500 million, but now we are this many people on this planet. Technological marvel we call ourselves, but I would say no, they were far more advanced back then, in the days of Noah. Oh yeah. But the reason for why we are so upset about all this stuff is because we are now more people, and we are much faster in communicating and, telecommunicating with each other about what is going on. And we got this big box sitting in the corner or hanging on the wall that we can follow up on what is going on, especially what the fake news media is telling us. But these things has always been there. But at that point in time, we didn't have all this electronic. We didn't have this communication system. So these storms was just part of, the seasons. The climate change. Well, that's what it was. I mean, hurricane is a Native American name. Tornado is a Native American name. Typhoon is an Asian name for this kind of storm. I mean, it's not something that so-called white supremacy man came up with. No, it's ancient words for that particular storm. And the Indians or the Asians, they knew what this was bringing about. And they took their measures for that. But today we have placed ourselves in big metropolitan areas, especially along the coastlines, which is those areas that is going to be hit by these events, these storms. And of course, now we are this many people around the coastline. 80% of the world's populace is living along the coastlines. I mean, it is inevitable. You can't avoid that humans are being affected by it. So, of course, the so-called scientific community, which I don't really call science, because if they repeat the same thing without knowing anything about it, or even looked into it thoroughly, if they repeat it often enough, it becomes fact. And you learning that in school, and you being lied to. I learned something else in school. I learned the truth, because I'm not from that generation where people were dumbed down by school and by college and by university. No. I was taught to think outside the box. It was demanded of us to think outside the box and look for several different areas and put it all up together and see what is connecting and what is not connecting and what is dismissible, and then come up with a conclusion. That's how I'm taught to do stuff, do my research. That's key. But you don't learn that here. In America, it's about repeating and memorizing. That's not knowledge. That's not learning. And it doesn't teach the children to think for themselves, because they don't want them to think for themselves, because the New World Order wants you to think the same and feel the same. And you will. The scriptures are very clear on that in Revelation, that the whole world will marvel after the beast. And who can make war against him? And the whole world will worship it. The whole world. Okay? We're not just talking America here and Europe. We're talking the whole world. And you've been warned about this, but still you deny that God exists. Right? Because you're an atheist. Or a deitist. Or whatever you are. But that book is telling you step by step by step by step of events that will occur in that time, where this world is going to suffer so much affliction that men's heart will fail them. They will die standing right there from the sight that they see. That's how scary it's going to be. Even the strongest man is going to have a very wet feeling between their legs. Maybe even something stinky coming out of them. And I'm not saying I'm not going to be one of them, but I am prepared that these things are coming. At least I know they're coming. I'm not in denial of these things are coming. And they are already here. Many of them. Earthquakes. The roaring of the seas. Right? Signs in the stars, in the moon and the sun. And the planets. All that is there. We got pestilences. We got famine. We got disease. Rampant. Around the planet. As never before. Man-made diseases. Like Zika virus. Like AIDS. Man-made. Lyme disease is man-made too. I mean, and West Nile is man-made too. I mean, how they're just nuts. They just want to kill us. And that's what I've said so many times. They want to kill us. That's the plan. They want to kill us. And you need to get that through your skull. They want to kill us. End of story. They want us down to 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That's that first commandment on their Georgia Guidestones. You need to understand that. But you don't understand that. Because you don't want to understand that. And I'm just Henning sitting here and babbling all these things. And why would we believe in him? Because he don't have a PhD. And he's not wearing a white robe. And have smart glasses on and a pencil in his ear. So why would we listen to him? Exactly. You've been taught all through your life, and I'm talking to the younger generation, you have been taught to trust authorities because they're not lying to you. Oh man, that's just perfect. Perfect. You never learn to think outside the box. You learn to memorize and repeat, and to trust the authorities, science, politicians. That's all you know. Beyond that, I think you know PlayStation, Nintendo, rap music, and other bullshit. That has nothing to do with life, because you don't have an interest in life. When it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you have an interest in yourself, self-loving. You could find that in Timothy, that men will be lovers of themselves. They will be rebellious against their parents. That's 2 Timothy. You can find that. Yeah. They knew, because God told them that that's how it's going to be. Isn't it amazing that all these things just come together and it all fit in the puzzle, and the puzzle is almost complete? Jesus is going to be the one that put the final piece in that puzzle. When that's done, who can stand? Okay, let's take the first article. That was the one I got on my phone today. Okay, climate change is enhancing extreme rainfall, it says. Over the past week, we have seen 2 major tropical storms devastate different parts of the world. First, Typhoon Pt2 struck Hong Kong and southern China, killing at least a dozen people. And over the weekend, Hurricane Harvey made landfall from the Gulf of Mexico, bringing extreme heavy rain to southern Texas and causing devastating floods in Houston. Yeah, we got now 30,000 people displaced in Houston. That's a lot of people. Okay, tropical cyclones are of course a natural feature of our climate, as I said to begin with. They're natural phenomena that appears when the properties are correct. Like I said to you yesterday, that the ocean temperature, surface temperatures need to be at least 78.8 Fahrenheit or 26 Celsius in order for enough vapor to get up into the atmosphere and starting the system. And it begins at the west coast of Africa, northwest Africa, and then it goes over the Atlantic. That is how hurricanes form and develop. Some die out before they even get to America. But this one we saw here at Harvey, it was nothing. And all of a sudden it became something, and I proved it to you. Right there, visually, their own freaking footage. Okay? Not something I sat there and animated, CGI or something crap. No, why would I do that? Why would I lie to you? Well, a natural feature in our climate. But the extreme impacts of these recent storms, especially in Houston, has understandably led to questions of whether climate change is to blame. How are tropical cyclones changing? Tropical cyclones called typhoons in the northwest Pacific and hurricanes in the North Atlantic are a major storm system that initiate near the equator. As I just told you, Northwest Africa's coast is equator line. Okay. Major systems that can initiate near the equator and can hit locations in the tropics and the subtropic around the world. When we look at the Atlantic Basin, we see an increase in tropical storms numbers over the past century, although there is a high year-to-year variability. The year 2005, when Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, marks the high point. We can be confident that we are seeing more severe tropical cyclones in the North Atlantic than we did a few decades ago. I will come to that. It's likely that climate change has contributed to this trend. Climate change, not global warming, climate change, seasons. Oh man, it's so funny. Oh, I love these scientists. Oh man, they're so full of it. Oh, I got a white cloak on. I'm so smart. Yeah, you're a smart ass. That's what you are. Although there are low statistical confidence associated with this statement. What that means is that it's observed increase in hurricane frequency is more likely not linked with climate change. Realizing here, right? But the increase also may be linked to decadal variability. Unlike other types of extreme weather such as heat waves, the influence of climate change on tropical cyclones is hard to pin down. This is because tropical cyclones are formed as a result of many factors coming together, as I told you earlier. It needs the right properties, the right vapor in the atmosphere, the right ocean temperature, and the right high pressure and low pressure combining together. And it has also something to do with how much ionization there is in the atmosphere around the area where these cyclones begin. Ionization. Remember that word, ionizing. Remember that word. Okay, I'll come to that. Okay, let me go back again. This is because tropical cyclones form as a result of many factors coming together, including a high sea surface temperatures, that's just what I said, and weak changes in wind strength, just what I just said, through the depths of the atmosphere, just as I just said. Okay? I mean, man, it doesn't take freaking a scientist to put this together. All it takes you is to look into some factors. When it comes to meteorology, it comes to biology, it's coming to our atmosphere, it's coming to the whole world. Look into that. I mean, just don't read one book or one article. But spread over a large area and read from different sources about the same subject. And you can see there might be something that is contradictory to each other. And you will quickly spot that if you got some grays up there in your head. If you're not too fluoridated, you might pick it up. These storms are also difficult to simulate using climate models. To study changes in the tropical cyclones, we need to run our models at high resolution and with interactions between the atmosphere and the ocean being represented. It is much easier to study heat extremes because we do this by looking at a single continuous variable temperature. Tropical cyclones, on the other hand, aren't continuous variable. They either form or they don't. It makes them much harder to understand and study. Yeah. Tropical cyclones also may have different characteristics that might change in the unpredictable ways as they develop, including their track, their overall size, and their strength. Different aspects of the cyclones are likely to change in different ways, and no two cyclones are the same. Compare that with a heat wave, which often have a similar spatial features. For all these reasons, it is very hard to say exactly how climate change has affected Hurricane Harvey. Exactly. Because climate change or climate did not affect Hurricane Harvey. It was man-made. It was made out of nothing. Okay? I showed you that yesterday. The definite proof that there was nothing. But there was a lot of water vapor. And this is what I'm getting here on from Bradley Moore, as I mentioned earlier about Weather War 101's channel, that they are using groundwater vapor generators all over the islands and United States to fuel this thing as well. So what they're doing, meaning the islands, that's the Caribbean, or Caribbeans as you call them, it doesn't matter, you understand what I mean, but they got these machines standing there and putting vapor up into the sky, fueling a system that actually died out on itself, but then they just give it a little more and a little more and a little more, and they are slowly working themselves into having the exact right percentage of moisture. And then they turn on HAARP. And HAARP, what does that mean? High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program was an ionospheric research program jointly funded by the U.S. Air Force, and who has been doing weather modifications and tests ever since World War II. The U.S. Air Force, and they're spraying the crap out of us. Chemtrails, which is also a catalyst and enhancing HAARP's properties when they're doing their so-called little storms, such as Joplin, which was a man-made storm, which was literally genocide. Okay? Literally. So, what are they doing? They're ionizing the atmosphere around these clouds, and that makes them stronger, more powerful, more turbulent, creating a lot of precipitation, a lot of rotation, and Harvey is born. That's what is happening. And the exact process is kind of like you're giving it a little heat, right? By frequencies, high frequencies, and I mean millions of watts, is being spewed up into the upper atmosphere, ionosphere, and it's bouncing back onto where they want the effect to take place. Okay? They can send several different messages, frequencies, okay, to different regions at the same time in order to gain a desired effect. They can move the jet stream. Give you an example. They're beaming up high power frequencies up into the ionosphere, out in the Pacific Northwest in the ocean. It creates a bubble in the ionosphere. And what happens when you do that? That is, that air will rush to that area where this bubble, vacuum, this void has been created. And that is dragging the jet stream to the west. If they want the jet stream to move eastward, they are placing on the other side of the arch of the jet stream over in the Midwest and making a plume there, a void, and then the air is rushing to it and the jet stream is moving eastward. And that's how they do it. And they can do it over several fronts at the same time in order, to adjust so they get the exact right properties to make that rotation appear spontaneously. It's really what's happening, and that's what they're doing. And they're using the chemtrails too because they are enhancing the electromagnetic frequencies that is being sent, because these chemtrails are metals, and metals are highly conductive, and especially up in a cloud system that is already very conductive. That's where you get lightning from, right? They're electrified. And if you add some chemtrails to that, you can, it's like putting more gasoline on the fire. Okay? It is really that simple. It's piece of cake for them. They've been practicing this since World War II. In the beginning, with devastating effect. Some areas like RAF did it over in England, and they killed 35 people because there was a deluge of water coming down, 22 feet wave of water because of all the rain that they created out of it. It went out of hand. But today, they are so good at it. They can so sophisticatedly produce a storm that makes it look absolutely normal. But if you have a keen eye and know what to look for, such as I did to you yesterday, look for this and look for that, you can see it, how they're guiding it, steering it, how they're fueling it. You can see it. They're so good at it today that if you don't have a trained eye on this subject, you wouldn't have a clue. But I've been looking at this ever since I came to America and saw these freaking white lines in the sky coming out of the ass of these airplanes, and I was thinking, what the hell is that? What is going on with that? That's not contrails. I've never seen that over in Europe, but now Europe, of course, is part of the agenda to create havoc over there. It's not just America, but America is a very key target to destroy, because we are the only country who is armed. We are the only country that is able to say no to New World Order and defeat them. So we have to be brought to our knees, one way or the other. I mean, the end justifies the means, and that is how the Freemasons work. And that's how Adam Weishaupt, the creator of Illuminati in Bavaria and Europe, Austria, that when he joined Illuminati with the Freemasons back then, he said exactly what I just said. The end justifies the means. And they agreed to that because they were both working for the same thing. And there was this New World Order through revolution. And what are we seeing now? Men in perplexity, distress of nations. Look at Europe. But what is so beautiful to see in Europe right now, that is that the Spaniards, after this Barcelona attack, 500,000 people getting out on the street saying to the Muslims, we are not afraid. Bring it on. Just like the king in 700 AD, when the Muslims took over Spain. Yeah, now they're taking over again and think they can repeat it. But they took over Spain back then in the 700s. In the 700s, 7th century. That's what I meant. And the Spanish king, he had enough of what was going on. So he set about to fight brutality with brutality. And that made the Muslims scared out of their minds, because they're not used to get resistance, because they're pussies when they get resistance. And that is what I've been saying all along to the Europeans. Buy a freaking 12-inch butcher knife and get freaking cracking on them when you see them come down the street and want to harm you. Get them. That will send a shockwave through the entire Muslim world. That now we freaking had enough of your little tantrums, and you're not ruling this world. That's how you defeat them. Fight brutality with brutality. I know it is not sounding good, but it's time to take off the gloves. Pray for them. Pray that they turn from their wicked ways. But if they want to come to harm you, you need to do what is freaking necessary, and that is to take them out before they take you out and your family and your nation and your continent. Period. Enough of that. Well, while it's hard to pin the blame for Hurricane Harvey directly on climate change, we can say that this human-caused climate change has enhanced some of the impacts of the storm. Blah. Right there. Blah. BS. 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 The meter is very high here because it's BS. Fortunately, in Harvey's case, the storm surge hasn't been too bad, unlike for Hurricane Katrina. Oh, you don't think so? We already almost up at freaking 50 inches of rain around Houston, the 4th largest city in this country. And now the largest refinery in the United States, which is in Texas, has closed their production of gasoline, which is going to be a big problem. But, we know, well, I know, that we are steering straight into the jaws of World War III. And what is the best method, which has always been seen when wars begin? That is a hype in the gas prices. When they go up, it gives more money for them to mobilize, give more money for them to go to war. That's the trend. When you see prices go up on gasoline, you know something is afoot. And now the largest refinery in the United States of America has shut down because of the flooding. What do you think that's going to do to the fuel prices? They're going to pop. So if you want some gasoline in the outside states that's not affected by Harvey, I think you need to freaking start hoarding some before it goes up to $3-5. Okay? It's that easy. It's not difficult to, connect the dots. And the speech that our 33-degree Mason president just made about how America is going to defy the Paris treatment about climate change, and how they're going to defy all the other ones and make sure that America is great. What do you think that means? Now that you know that America, Europe, the Arabs, Chinese, Russia are all in for one thing only. They are all in the freaking same club. New World Order. And what is the best way to put a target on America's back? That is to go in opposition to what has already been discussed. It's all a big plan. It's all a conspiracy. And you say, oh, there is no conspiracies. There has been a conspiracy since Nimrod. Do you understand? Who's Nimrod? Oh, he was the guy behind the Tower of Babel. He wanted to join the whole world with one tongue and one mind and think the same, feel the same. That's what he wanted. God didn't allow that. But he's allowing it this time. Because you are so desperate. You want this so bad. So he has said, okay, I'm going to give it to you. And let's see if you like it. Oh, you're not going to like it. You're going to piss your pants. Literally. Well, the storms has not been too bad, unlike hurricanes Katrina and Sandy, for example. This is because Harvey didn't travel as far and weakened rapidly when it made landfall. It's still freaking rotating, okay? And the prognosis of it, or the trajectory of the storm, is it's going back out into the Gulf and then it's going to seek northeast. Okay, gets out over the water again, sucking up more energy to drop more rain. Oh man, I'm coming to why. Okay, well, I think I actually just gonna go on to the other article that he sent me, which is very interesting. This is this Hurricane Harvey, a geoengineered superstorm, targets Texas. Why? Okay, why? I just told you something about that. That is because there are someone who is against this agenda. that is going on, and the agenda is Agenda 21, and now we've got an agenda 2030 or 35 or something like that. I don't give a shit what they have for plans. Doesn't matter. We all in the same sinking ship. Do you understand that, brothers and sisters out there? I don't care if you atheist or you are deitist or you are Buddhist, Muslims or whatever you are all having a target on your back. You are to be culled. Culled? What do you mean by that? Killed. Murdered. In the name of New World Order. Don't you get it? Well, like all geoengineered storm fabricated by the NWO, New World Order, globalist cabal, Hurricane Harvey was fastidiously manufactured and directed at Texas. Okay, because this meteorological fact is now self-evident, and most important question we can be asked and answered is, why has the great state of Texas been targeted yet again? The analysis of that follows explains the real purpose behind Hurricane Harvey. Editor's note. The link below, there's a link. I didn't even see that on this page. The link is not there. I'm sorry. But detailed expose that was previously published by SOTN about the weather wars waged against Texas in the past. This post contains vital background material which inform the present predicament and other Texas deluge. First, this is important to know that superstorm is still very much in progress. Some of the best weather forecast model has predicted up to 40 inches of rain. That is already broken by 9 inches. We are passing 50, and we are expecting at least 30 more inches raining down on Houston. Yeah, and preventing all traffic to travel outside Houston. The airports are shut down, and the main artery that unites the mainland is I-45. It's completely 19 miles out of north of Houston. Is completely underwater, and you cannot drive on it. It is shut down. You can't get anywhere. They're trapped. I-10 is shut down. It's trapped. It's done. Okay. As is often the case, this hurricane is not just about calamitous, wind-damaging events as much as it was geoengineered to be a mega rain dumper. Yeah, I mean, wind, we can handle that. But water, right now, there has been raining so much, we are over now of those 49 inches that we have around 21 trillion gallons. No, what was it? He said. Yeah, trillions of gallons of water sitting on the land of Texas. If you distributed all this water all over the state of Texas, it would cover the entire Texas with 2 inches of water. That's how much water has been dropped in such a small area, in such a short time. Do you imagine that? Water is a big, big factor. It is devastating. Okay? Water is not going anywhere. And water is super heavy. It got the density 600 times of air. So it's really an obstacle. Water. It's not just okay, the water will recede. It's gonna take a long time, okay, and they don't need more water, but there's more water coming because the system is located and positioned, and it's not going anywhere, and it's on purpose because they want to send Texas a strong message. And here we come to the message. First, it's important to note that this superstorm is very much in progress. Some of the best weather forecast model has predicted up to 40 inches of rain in the most affected areas over the coming days. Yeah. As is often the case, this hurricane is not just a calamitous wind-damaging event such as it was geoengineered to be a mega rain dumper. Catastrophic wind typically limit their fury mainly to the coastlines, although they can put a swath of great destruction that follows the path of the eye wall. Yeah, of course. Continuously falling rain, on the other hand, can cause an apocalyptic deluge that paralyzes major metro areas like Corpus Christi and Houston. These slow-motion rain events are subsequent floodings always prove to be the worst of one or two punch-packed by many hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. When the damage caused by Hurricane Harvey is finally assessed, it will likely prove to be one of the worst man-made disasters in Texas history. Therefore, it behooves investigators to ascertain why the geoengineers were ordered to target Texas with such cataclysmic storm. Okay, here we go. Number 1. Because Texas has been on the forefront of the anti-illegal immigration movement. Yeah, shut the border. Keep them down there. They can stay in their hellhole. If they can't be here legally with papers, paid for it and everything, like everybody else who is not a Mexican or whatever you come from down there, I mean, you got no business in this country. You need to stay the hell away. End of story. But the New World Order don't have borders. They're like this gray cloud that is covering over land borders and just gripping down and destroying the values, traditions, and history like we are seeing being done now here in America, where we are removing statues and whatnot. Just like George Orwell. I mean, they're writing their own history. That's what they want. And the true history will be erased. It will be no man's knowledge. Governor Greg Abbott has been clear about Texas' policy against illegal improbably entering the country. Good. Stick to that, Greg Abbott. Let's never stand down. And Texas legislator has passed some of the strongest law in the nation which attempt to limit the massive influx of unlawful immigrants from Mexico. I don't want you here. Okay? We got a lot of problems in this country. When we have solved these problems in this country, we can start talking about it. But in the meanwhile, you need to stay out. We don't need you. We don't want you. Not that it has anything to do with racism, but you are adding to the problem. Big time. Thanks to the Democrats. Okay, by launching a weather attack on South Texas, the Mexican border will now become even more porous than it already is. Of course, because all forces and all the resources is going to, of course, picking up after Hurricane Harvey. There's now so much weather chaos in the southern quadrant of the state that a conducive environment has been created for much more illegal border crossing and human trafficking. Oh man, human trafficking, man. You find those bastards doing that, bury them where they stand. Bastards. Human trafficking. Small girls, mostly girls, under the age of 6, transported into the American states, into the politician's realm, who is part of the club, who can perform pedophilia, molestation, and human sacrifice to their Moloch, to their Satan, because they are satanists and they are pedophiles. Bill Clinton is one of them. The old George Bush is one of them. Yeah. They all are part of this cabal, where they are using children. And as I said in episode 1, if you knew how many children under the age of 6 years old are being murdered, raped, mutilated, in order to gain power that they think they get, or to sacrifices to their gods, namely Lucifer, you would not celebrate Halloween. Millions of children on this planet, America the worst place, hundreds of thousands of children disappearing and never to be found again, are being handed over in the clutches of these politicians, namely Democrats, but also Republicans, to be raped anally and then murdered and then disposed of in the crematories, which they also own. Hundreds of thousands of innocent children being murdered by these people, and you're just watching it. You're watching it happen. And evil flourish when good men look on and do nothing. They are all satanists. Do you understand that? They worship Satan. Oh. And what is it the Freemasons are doing when they are initiated? They're putting their freaking hand on the Holy Bible with a noose around their neck and pledging allegiance to Lucifer, and also swearing an oath that they are to be killed if they reveal any of the secrets of the fraternity. And you say God is not real? Why are they using the Bible? To mock God, our Creator, our Father. That's why they're doing it. They pledge their allegiance to Satan, who is the dragon, who is Lucifer. And they are murdering our children. Murdering. First they rape them, anally, and then they kill them. And then they burn them to discard the evidence. That's what you politicians in Washington is doing. But it's not only them. It's also businessmen, doctors, and so on. Highly educated people who's part of this club, who's doing these things. It's frightening. It's horrible. Well, let's go on. That particular stretch of border that is already known to be the most vulnerable to criminal activity shout up between Mexican military and drug cartel near Texas border. I say just shoot them. You're trespassing. Put a purple fence up. Not a wall, just a purple fence. In Texas that means you're being shot without warning. Just put a purple fence up and shoot the bastards when they come. Bang! That'll send a strong message. We don't want you here. You come here, we shoot you. It sounds harsh, but something needs to be done to stop this madness. Number 2. Texas has been ground zero for war on drugs. Run by who's running the drug industry in the United States? CIA is, to fund their clandestine operations around the world. Yeah, the feds use the Mexican cartels to keep the controlled substances flowing efficiently across the border. Yeah, as many people we can get on drugs, the more inefficient people we have in the country, meaning, yeah, you know, more control. Mexican mules drug dealers are runners, and runners are enlisted to maintain this professional drug trafficking operation for a variety of reasons that are beyond the scope of this exposé. Given the tremendous impact of this storm, drug running will be easier than ever. Of course, there's no resources down to protect the border. Mexico's fierce opposition to Trump's border wall has always been due to the huge dent, such as an obstacle put into the drug profit made by the cartels, which fund politicians and police alike. Texas has been quite enthusiastic towards the wall because of how much crime will be reduced and state services under less strain. The globalists do whatever is necessary to soften up a state in order to bring them in line with, say, California. I don't want to be like California. What a hellhole. Excuse me, I know you love California and, all the beaches and all that crap, but California is a hellhole of fascism, overrun by illegal immigrants. And 90% of them don't even speak English. We have no idea where they are, who they are. It's just a mess. And no one is doing anything to stop it. And California is the lab here in America. They do something, test it, it works, and then it becomes law in the rest of the states of America. How about that? I mean, sometimes I wish a big earthquake would just plunge that freaking crappy state out into the freaking Pacific. Bygone. But there's a lot of good people in California, so I don't wish them harm, but you know what I mean. I hope you understand what I mean. I mean, freaking crap. It's a shit state. Number 3, George Soros' Purple Revolution in dire need of mercenary conscripts. I mean, George Soros, you come to Texas, you will be arrested. You will be put to jail. We will get you. Don't come here. I mean, don't come here. If I see you, I will freaking put you down. Not kill you, but I will citizen arrest you because you are a criminal and you are to be prosecuted and found guilty because you are guilty, you communist bastard. Many of the Antifa terrorists, they're terrorists now, so you can shoot them. Protection against foreign and domestic enemies. So you have the right to defend yourself in any means necessary because they are now, by law, now a terrorist organization. Just like ISIS, just like ISIL, just like Al-Qaeda, just like other idiots. MS-13 in California. What a hellhole. Okay. For instance, are actually illegal immigrants who will do anything to stay in USA. That's why they always wear black face masks whenever they show up to terrorize a patriot movement protest. Otherwise they would be found out and as coming from south of the border. Soros used this same MO, using foreigners to use his dirty work by staging the immigrant crisis through the European Union. And now we see what's going on in Europe. Buy a butcher knife over there and get freaking cracking on them. These Spanish-speaking illegal immigrants, aliens, are also desperate for a job having no legal status under Trump administration policy. Yeah, don't worry. I mean, it's all part of the big plan. Many of these border jumpers are also real terrorists, also known as Wahhabi jihadists. Kill them if you find them. Who has been shipped in from the Middle East. Soros and company stealthily created a system not too unlike the red lines after World War II, which transported Nazi war criminals to various protected destinations around the world, especially South America. Project Paperclip. Look that up. Okay. In the case of Texas, genuine ISIS terrorists has been conveyed across the border in recent years in preparation of the Soros-sponsored Clinton-inaugurated Purple Revolution. Superstorms like Harvey that hit Texas only make this seditious conspiracy much easier to manage undetected because of the post-hurricane pandemonium. That's just what I said. I mean, all the resources is going to relief help and not to protect the border. Number 4. Texas is the second largest state in the Union in both size and population. After California, the Lone Star State is top on the target list where it concerns implementation of the U.S. Agenda 21. What did I just say to you? Right? And its new improved version, 2030. That's what I said. I just couldn't remember it exactly. 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As follows: Texas deluge. Was it a geoengineered weather event to enforce compliance with Agenda 21? Yeah, it was. I proved that to you. Secure Team 10 proved that to you. I don't know where the hell .Sense is in this. He's all too concerned with his freaking earthquakes. Get real. Okay, .Sense, get back to the weather. You much better than that. Man, you're an idiot. Excuse my language, but you are an idiot. You should stick to the weather because you're freaking good at it. You're super good at it. Stop looking at that stupid ball. There's earthquakes there. There's earthquakes there. There's always been freaking earthquakes, dude. Come on. We're dealing with weather wars here. Okay? Get back in line, .Sense, and do what you're best at. Weather. I mean, you called freaking Joplin tornado. You called it before it freaking happened. And now you're all concerned about earthquakes. Yeah, Matthew 24. There will be earthquakes in diverse places. Okay, move on. Man, okay. Both of these agendas require the ceding of such authority by the 50 states of the United Nations. Texas has never been one that go with the flow, especially the New World Order flow. This fiercely independent state will not be dictated to even by U.S. federal government, so why it takes orders from an international body run by Soros-controlled globalists. Yeah, it's not going to. We're gonna fight to last man standing. Do you understand that, George Soros? Come down here, you pussy. See what you can do. Come down here in person and see if you can threaten us. You don't dare, because you're chicken shit. All you can do is rattle on people, like you did with all the Jews in Nazi, in World War II, in Hungary, where you were born. How you rattled them out and went in and stole all their goodies. And now you're one of the richest men in the world, and you became that on murder of your brothers and sisters. You are so guilty. And you're guilty of collusion, you are guilty of sedition, you're guilty of treason, because you're an American citizen. And you are to be trialed. Not killed, but you need to rot in a jail cell somewhere. Maybe on the rock, with no heat. You can freeze at night. You deserve it. Bastard. Okay. The bottom line here is that the NWO, the New World Order cabal, is determined to bring Texas under the rubric of the UN umbrella, come hell or high water. Hurricane Harvey raises hell and high water on Texas coastline. 5. Texas has led the country against the now ambiguous rhymes of inquisitious LGBTQ agenda. This toilet thing, this men wants to be women and so on, and they can use whatever toilet they want. Now listen here, you perp. If you sit up there and listen to this, you freak. I want you to go to the mirror. Take down your freaking pants. What do you see there? Do you see a pecker there? You use the men's room. You see a slit there? You use the women's room. If I see you use a men's room and being a woman, or a man using a women's restroom, I will pull you by your hair out of that store. And I mean, I'm going to humiliate you. I'm not going to put up with that, you pervert. And I don't care what you feel up in your head about what you are. What you were born as, what is between your legs, is where determine what toilet you are using. Do you understand that? End of story. And I mean it. I'm going to drag you by your hair. And I can assure you the Texans here is going to... Hey, we got one of those perverts. Because that's what you are. You perverted up in your heads. Sick in your heads. I don't give a shit. No, this gender conflict about yourself, I mean, come on. I don't want to hear your excuses anymore. Okay? This is Sodom and Gomorrah, not in Texas. You can do your Sodom and Gomorrah in the shit state of California if you want to, or shit state New York if you want to, but not in Texas. Well, no offense to the New Yorkers, most of New York is beautiful. I've been there so many times I can't remember, can't even count it. Hundreds of times. It is gorgeous there. But in a little tiny group, a little tiny spot in that state, that's where all the filth is. You know what I'm talking about. Manhattan. Freaks. Rude. Arrogant. Ugh. Nauseating. Well, legislation has been reflectively proposed whenever traditional Texan society has found itself under attack by the LGBT co-conspirators. This ultra-liberal element in state government, who is aggressively promoting this nefarious agenda, will not be deterred. I can assure you, you don't want me to see you go into the wrong restaurant. I will pull you by your hair. Maybe even your freaking ballsack. Do you understand that? I don't give a shit what you feel up in your brain. I don't care. You are not using the wrong restroom opposite your gender. I assure you that. And that is not a threat. Pervert. Well, devastating weather events like Harvey can also be used by the cabal to threaten and or coerce any state government that is not compliant with the latest LGBT push. And again, your balls will hurt if I see you in the wrong restaurant on a public place. Oh man, you're going to be put to shame. There's also a hidden agenda that occurs with all LGBT initiatives regarding their immediate goals of normalizing of pedophilia. Exactly. If I see you, man, getting, cracking on an innocent girl, I'm going to cut off your pecker and your balls. Right there. And then I'm going to freaking make you eat them. I'm not going to kill you, but you're going to eat your own balls and your own wiener. Guaranteed. This covert plan is significantly responsible for the current crime wave of child trafficking. Oh man, that's what you just talked about, right? Child sexual abuse and other child exploitation crimes. Oh man, if I ever see one of you do that, ooh, your pecker is coming off. I said it before, but I say it again, it's coming off. And I got a very sharp knife. I also got a very dull knife. You get to choose which one I use. Swift or the hard way. I can assure you going down. It ought to be quite easy to understand how such weather chaos near the Mexican border will make it much easier, to traffic children coming up from the Central and South American unsupervised. Exactly. What was it happened under the Obama administration? All these undocumented, unsupervised children was coming up. And what was it? Joe Biden, he came out and said, and this dried out teabag Nancy Pelosi, oh, it's our children. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Your children, for your nastiness, your perverted, sick minds. Daylight shows the devastation in Rockport and surrounding areas of southeast Texas. Well, I don't need to sit and show you pictures. You see beautiful pictures, not beautiful pictures, but you're seeing pictures of the surface of the moon where this dominance is coming from. They are there, the lizards, the reptilians, the fallen angels, those who are controlling the men who is running this world into the ground. They are right freaking up there. Do you understand? And if you don't understand or don't want to understand, you will come to understanding. Either when you die or when you see it all unfold in front of you. When you see them freaking come here and stay here like in the days of Noah, then you will understand that I was telling you the truth all along. And I'm not sitting here and thinking it up. And you can see on these pictures there's structures. There's clear evidence of someone is there, and I know who is there. And it's not up for debate. Key point. There's much more to this aspect of using weather weaponry, as well as the constant threat of weather warfare against a truly patriotic and recalcitrant entity. Weather warfare right before your very eyes. The $64,000 question. With the election of Donald Trump, the 33-degree Mason, how do these criminally insane psychopaths still retain total control over Americans' weather? HAARP, which is just as guarded as Area 51. You can't get there. If you want to sample a little army and go up there and destroy this freaking facility, you're going to die trying. You can bet on it. Why are treasonous geoengineers still permitted to wreak havoc anywhere in America, anytime they want to? Hurricane Harvey wreaks havoc in Texas. If these questions are not answered soon, the United States mainland will be further attacked by weather weapons of even greater power. As Tesla said, you will see man-made horrors beyond human comprehension. They're using his technology to hurt us, to make us get in line with the program. NVO, I'm not in line with your program. Never. Well, conclusion, just to end the whole thing. Eventually, the people will wake up to the fact that the use of global climate change has actually been fabricated using geoengineering techniques, chemtrails, HAARP, while sun activity has also exerted its fair share of influence on the highly manipulated global warming scenario. It's the systematic chemical geoengineering in the concert with HAARP technologies that really produce so much wacky weather and climate chaos. Geoengineering is the primary cause of global climate change, not CO2, as I started out with. However, the single most important conclusion that we the people must come to sooner or later is this, that the worldwide geoengineering program has provided cover for so much weather warfare being conducted 24/7, which predicament is allowed the globalist perps to wage war, weather war, anywhere on the planet with virtual impunity. Now, you remember me, some of you, from the Gulf oil spill. I have a video called Gulf Oil Spill documentary, full version, 2010-2013, where I explain all of it, what the hell was taking place out in the Gulf. That was at that time on YouTube where I had my little taste of fame. Funny enough, the year before that, I took a fortune cookie at a Chinese restaurant, and I read what it said on the backside in that piece of paper there, and it said, "One day you will make a name of yourself." And I did. I was just yeah, but I did. I became a hot shot on the Gulf oil spill, and well, I just wanted to present the evidence, do the research for you, and explain it to you. That's all I had in mind, and my wife was going nuts over my constant digging into this subject. But this subject was so severe, so serious, that it superseded a lot of things in my life. Because it was designed to weaken the New Madrid fault line. It was designed to destroy the southern part of the mainland, namely Louisiana, where Mississippi running out through. That is where the New Madrid fault line is going through, Mississippi river system. And I said that water would come in onto the land and come up. I was right. A few months later, Bayou Corn. And today we got areas in Florida, we got areas in Louisiana that is being inundated by salt water because the land is freaking sinking. I told you that would happen. And the only way that they could truly go along or get this weather warfare, this geoengineering at foot, get it started, was to destroy the natural Gulf Stream. And now I'm going to say something that's a little off, that the reason for why they cannot predict totally and fully the cyclones, typhoons out in the Pacific Ocean is because they are not affected by the same type of warm water as the Atlantic Ocean is, because the Gulf Stream is running up to southeast of Greenland, dropping down and serving as the HAARP pump, and that is what is driving the ocean current, the conveyor belt, the ocean conveyor of hot water, and that is driving the entire world's ocean currents. So the Pacific Ocean is a little cooler than the Atlantic Ocean is because the Gulf Stream is there, right? But what happened in the wake of the Gulf oil spill, that is, that I saw on the graphs, you can find that in my documentary. If you want to spend 2 hours and 16 minutes on that, you can get the whole story. The Gulf loop current was moving 4.6 meters per second. That's 12 feet per second. Okay? It diminished to half the velocity in the wake of the Gulf oil spill. It disrupted the Gulf loop current that is driving this planet, the weather of this planet, and the loop current, the Gulf Stream running up there in the north, southeast of Greenland in the North Atlantic Ocean, above the polar circle or Arctic circle, was what was steering. It was the rudder for the jet stream. It kept it at bay. It kept it where it needed to be by cutting half of the power of the loop current. Made it possible for these bastards to use HAARP and control the jet stream 100%. 100%. And I told you these things back then. And you're seeing it happen. If you look at the jet stream, how it looks, it's completely abnormal looking. It is not supposed to be where it is. And after the Gulf loop current, which has been responsible for the mild winters in northern Europe. Now Europe, because of half force of the loop current, have devastating winters, ice winters. My homeland Denmark was buried in freaking snow 2 years ago. I mean, buried in snow. Never seen before in Denmark's history. At one point, there was 19 feet of snow on one of the islands. The whole island was a grind hole in a national emergency situation. So much snow came down from the sky. The whole country was standing still. And when it comes to the summers, we've seen the floodings in Italy, we've seen it in France, we've seen it in the southern part of Europe, how deluge of rain is just coming down. Just like in Texas. And why is that? It's because the loop Gulf current is half power of what is supposed to be destroyed by them forever. It's not going to rebound because they have disrupted the seafloor that controls that current. They blew it up to make sure it don't rebound. That's what the whole Deepwater Horizon project was about. There was to make sure that New Madrid fault line got weakened for later use, splitting America, and to take absolute control over the weather on the entire planet. The entire planet, people. Okay? It's horrible. I don't know what to say about it other than that. It's horrible. And it's only a group of some 7,000 people behind this who we allow to do these things. And why are we allowing it? Because we are divided. We're more busy about race, not understanding that we all have the same enemy. That is our statesmen, our politicians, bankers, that kind of people. Who's behind this? And it go way back thousands of years. This plan. They have set themselves to destroy everything that God Almighty created. And they're doing it again. They want to rule this planet. They are off this world 100%. And they're not going to stand down. And we are not supposed to go out and kill anybody. We are not. That's not how we do it. We pray for them. We love our enemy. We love our brothers and sisters. We love our neighbor like we love ourselves. That was Jesus' commandment before he left. Love each other like I loved you. But on the other hand, if you could really look, down to earth on it, and not the spiritual world, it'll be so simple. Just kill those 7,000 bastards. Because we know who they are. And it'll be all over. We can go back to normal. But it's not how you're going to pan out. No. It's going to be like this, that the whole world will worship this beast and the man in charge of this beast. That's how it's going to be, whether you like it or not. whether you agree with me or not. If you survived World War III, you heard this message, you will understand that I was telling you the truth. God bless you.